Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for following the Meet Me for Coffee podcast on the road. We are back at it again, creating more special edition content here at the Trimble Insight 2025 conference in New Orleans, Louisiana. If you guys like the content that you watch in this episode, be sure to go back and check out the channel to see all of the other amazing on-site interviews that are taking place this week here in New Orleans. And thanks for meeting us for coffee. Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for listening in again to another special edition episode of the Meet Me for Coffee podcast. I'm your host, Samantha Jones, and I'm here today with Steven. Steven, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, of course. Hey, everybody. I'm Steven Kalnitzky. I am a director of product management at Trimble. I oversee a couple of different product lines. The Appian product line, which is really final mile, really designed for private fleets. And then the TruckMate TMS, which is kind of new under my purview. TruckMate is more for multimodal, LTL, the specialized use cases. And so I've been with that team for about 2 months, really talented other product people underneath me. And so, yeah, it's great to meet everybody. And well, not meet everybody, but thank you for having me. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate when people can carve out the time for a podcast with everything else going on. So I took a look at your background and a little bit into your bio, and you've been in this industry for a while. You've been working with Trimble now for a while. And so I just was like, something I really want to know is how have you seen the needs of the asset carrier evolve in the time that you've been in these product roles that are, you're serving the needs of these fleets, and so you have to be developing the products that are meeting those needs. And I just think there's been so much change in our space. So I'd love to hear kind of how that evolution has happened and take us all the way up to where we're at right now.
Yeah, of course. So you looked at my background, so we'll go a little bit into that. So before I came to Trimble, I was actually at C.H. Robinson, which is non-asset. They have no assets at all. They have some containers and everything now, and they might have more assets than they did. And so the fact that companies like that are successful is a testament to things like the need for data, the needs for customer service. And I think that the ultimate reflection of that is actually in the asset-based carriers. Let's talk about private fleets, because that's really where most of my experience lies in terms of Trimble. If I think about what a private fleet exists for, it exists as a cost center for a company, a distribution company. They are operating this not to make money. They're not in this for hire carriers. They're in this to essentially provide the highest levels of customer service. And so, in the last 10 years, 5 years, the definition of customer service has changed dramatically.
So much.
Amazon is kind of, they've escalated and escalated what everyone expects, not just in our own lives, like delivering things to my house in 2 hours, but this is what distributors have come to expect, or have been demand has been put on them to deliver that kind of experience for just product getting to stores or product getting to job sites. And so I think the biggest change that we've seen is, or at least on my side of the business, is the need and the definition of customer service is immensely different than what it was 10 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've always said, when you're talking about a fleet, like trucking, they're operators, they're really good at making sure the truck is showing up and moving cargo.
Yes.
But historically, the demand to need to do things like provide visibility, be available at all hours for phone calls, or provide documentation within X amount of hours, or provide documentation into someone else's system of record and portal the way they specify. All of these things are continuing to get more demanding and more involved now. So these fleets are having to really just adapt to meet the needs of the people they serve.
Well, the expectations are through the roof of these companies, like you said at this point. It's just everybody needs everything on their timeline now.
Yes.
It's not like you can go and I'll get you the paperwork in a week, I'll get you this, or hey, call me during business hours. There's no such thing as business hours anymore, right? 24/7. And it's kind of always been that way, but like you said, the escalations or expectations are so high to deliver world-class customer service at low prices, which is unfortunately the kind of dichotomy we live in, is completely different than it was. And as we get into this new world of artificial intelligence, which we'll cover in a little bit, those demands are going to get more and more because people have an expectation that they can get what they want when they want it.
Yeah.
And when they need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love to say that, we use the word shippers, but when I say shippers have always kind of driven the evolution of change in our space. A shipper could be someone as large as the Amazons of the world, but also what's driving them. It's ultimately
it's us.
Consumers,
yeah, it's
right?
us, yeah.
It's us. Like, we're also the consumers. So we say this is our expectation. These big companies shift
Yes.
to meet it, see the opportunity. Big companies push to the slightly smaller companies, and that just trickles back downwards all the way down to the fleets that have to move the goods to get them where they need to be.
Yeah,
So.
it's amazing what the choices of consumers. Nobody, I don't. You hear about this concept of small incremental change and things like snowballs rolling downhill. That's what this is the ultimate reflection of that.
Yeah.
Is me wanting something delivered in an hour. Just think about how far upstream that has to hit, and all of the changes that a fleet has to make to account for me wanting something in an hour.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. So, next question for
Yeah.
you I have is, how should fleets be utilizing technology to help them optimize their operations in a way that is meeting these demands while at the same time making them cost effective to meet? And I think we could kind of maybe break this out and look at it as like, when we think about technology, there's a lot of stuff out there.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
want to overwhelm.
Oh.
So like, what would be considered table stakes right now? What do you think is like a nice to have when we're talking about technology? And then what would you say you've seen as kind of like that leading edge in the space? So we have kind of three categories.
Yeah, of course. I mean, so table stakes are things that I consider things that are driven by. Let's just take the ELD, for example.
Okay.
They don't have a choice. They have to adopt, especially in the United States, they have to adopt ELD technology.
Yeah.
The hours of service have to be tracked. All of these things are important. So I would consider that kind of the baseline for table stakes, but it's not the beginning. Is companies need to be adopting technology like TMSs. You need something at least to manage your fleet. You need to manage what you're doing every day, your execution. At bare minimum, you probably need tracking. You need to know where your assets are. I mean, we hear a lot about trailer theft and about things like this. So I think visibility, especially at that level, is table stakes. It's not nice to have anymore. It's something that you need. You're talking about things like keeping your drivers happy. So software that either helps the driver perform better or more efficiently, or keeps them happier. Things like driver onboarding is important to make sure that a driver stays beyond a year. And so I think these things are table stakes. These things are, how do I manage my fleet? What's the least I can do to manage my fleet effectively?
Yes.
Those are the table stakes. Now, nice to haves. I think that things, because I think that was the next step up your ladder.
Yes.
Nice to haves are things that will help you automate, and these are, in my opinion, and I think we're now getting into a world where artificial intelligence, machine learning, all of these technologies are going to help enable automation more and more than they have in the past.
Sure.
And so I think that this is an area where these nice to haves eventually are going to make their way down to table stakes.
Yeah.
They're not there yet. I mean, because we're still kind of in the infancy a little bit, especially in the transportation industry. But I think that these things that helping you automate workflows like order tendering or order acceptance, things like tendering freight, things like optimization. I think these things are now becoming are nice to have, but eventually they're going to hit that table stakes level, and then the next generation of technology is going to be those ladders. So, I think those are some nice to haves. Those are some nice to haves. I think.
What would you say is leading edge? Like, what have you seen that's like, whoa, like this carrier really blew me away. They're doing this, or this fleet.
So, so some of the things people are doing with AI, specifically with, and I don't want to get too boring in the weeds, but things like what they're doing with MCPs and the tools they have around MCPs and the way they're using data and leveraging data in new ways. We have some fleets that, without getting into too much proprietary information,
Right.
they're using data in ways that are going to help drive revenue in areas that you wouldn't think of before.
Sure.
Things like dynamic pricing,
Yeah.
and not dynamic pricing of their capacity, dynamic pricing of end consumer goods.
Sure.
And so I think that that we have the data. Companies that have the data can help them paint the picture that wasn't there before, and can help them steer the ship a little bit better in ways they couldn't before.
Yeah.
And I think those are some of there's some amazing stuff being done. And again, it is the bleeding edge. Not every fleet is adopting it, and I certainly don't want people to assume that if they're not adopting this, they're doing something wrong. There are people that like to go first, and there are people that want to go
Right.
and do that.
Sometimes there's benefits to being second,
Yes,
right?
exactly. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But some people want to be early adopters, and they do it. And so
Yeah.
I think it's really cool what some of these people are doing, and I think they're paving the way for other fleets to essentially benefit from this in the future.
Sure.
But I think that just using data in new ways is really going to be, that bleeding edge. It's really amazing what people are doing, and I'm very every time I talk to these people, these fleets, I'm impressed with what they're doing. It's incredible.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think like something that I've a piece of advice I've heard by a tech leader in the space was make sure that you're actually storing all of your data. Like even if you're not ready to do something with it yet, make sure it's being captured in a way that can be actionable. It could be evaluated later.
This is so key, and I know this is something that I know that we're going to talk about in a little bit, but I think that there's a lot of companies that don't have a data policy. They don't have data. They don't have a good understanding of what data is, how they can use it, why it's important to them. And if these fleets and all these fleets want to become AI ready and automation ready, the data is the key here. And so, like you said, even if you're not doing anything with it, just putting it in a database or storing it or using an ETL to get it out of your executions and do something with the data, just have it. Have it ready so you can start using it in the future, because you don't want to get to the point when you're ready to adopt new technology and then you don't have data maturity yet. One of the product lines that I mentioned earlier is Appian. Appian's final mile multi-stop route optimization. Well, it's amazing how many people buy that software and then don't have the data to use it properly. I don't have good time windows. Well, how can we optimize our routes without good time windows?
Yeah.
So they end up buying software and they end up doing manual planning with the software. And so I will say this, I don't want to guilt people into thinking if they don't have data, they're doing something wrong. There's ladders to these things.
Yeah.
And so you can start small and adopt and get value at different levels with different data maturity. You don't have to go from 0 to 100 with data maturity. You can start and go from 0 to 10 and get value, 10 to 20 get value, and stair-step your way up.
Yeah. And especially if you think that like AI of any type is going to be a part of your solution. That's something I've heard that we're running into. I just talked to a founder, appointment scheduling automation, and they were saying like that, they have a working solution for it. It's really not so much AI as it is like just having to learn from data and let it start to automate processes.
Yes.
But when you start digging into a company's like process for scheduling, you're like, why are you putting this here? And they're like, well, I don't know, because I found if I just throw this number in, and so you have all these people that like one of the, I think the challenges of data is it's going to force fleets, it's going to force brokers and everyone, shippers even, to go and look at, are we actually following some type of standardization here?
Yes.
Because we can't really teach something to automate somebody's whim on a given day. So it's actually like, the challenge is, one, how is the user behavior, and are we actually creating processes that are already optimal?
Yep.
So that we can then say, okay, if we were to automate this, we're trying to automate something in its best condition, as opposed to the way things exist today, which might be poor visibility, different every time, chaos. Like, I think it's good. I think it's a good push that we're starting to say, okay, if you want to start embracing more automation and tools and technology across your operations, you're going to have to take a good hard look at exactly how you're doing things and why. Yeah,
so this is where we've just launched our first artificial intelligence tool on the Appian side. It's called the Appian Fleet Assistant, and so one of the things that we hear, it's not even the data maturity, I have one person that has all the domain knowledge in his head. He knows everything. This person calls in sick, we're in trouble. This person gets hit by a bus, we can't operate our business.
We have a lot of people like that out here that are like, one person can bring it down.
Yes, and so you have to find an implement process that gets that data, gets that information out of their head and into data models or into something. And so
and you don't have to have an AI agent right away.
No.
You just need to start tracking everything they're doing.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And so either you learn through the data or you have them document it somehow.
Yes.
And you just learn from them, because that's an organizational risk that is not worth doing. It's not scalable.
Right.
So this person can't multiply himself into 5 or 6 or herself into 5 or 6 people. And so that puts your entire organization at jeopardy. And this is the time, like you said, as we start approaching more opportunities for automation, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, get that information out of these people's heads too.
Because the crazy thing is that technology legitimately could multiply that person
yes, you're right.
into 5 people.
It could.
But only if they know how to be that person.
Yes.
Yeah.
People ask us all the time, we want autonomous routing. No, you don't. You want autonomous routing that looks like this person did it. And so that's cool. Let us help you deliver that. Get us this information. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, another question here for you, and it kind of goes along with what we've been talking about here, where we talk about service and how like we want to provide the best customer service, and honestly, it's not really like that's such a cliche topic almost to say is like, well, give good customer service. Well, yes, we all know that. You have to have good customer service to be able to succeed. But I think the challenge today more is how do we give good customer service while still competing well in the marketplace from like, also, you have to be conscious of your costs and the feasibility of providing that service. So we could probably say, well, we could provide really great service if we hired 20 people and made sure they were fully available to address things. Yep. But we can't do that anymore because we're facing this constant pressure to do more with less, to be more optimized. We've, not just in the freight market in general, but the more efficient other industries get, and the more they're looking at their budgets, it all is going to push down on the supply chain as well.
Well, again, not to beat a dead horse here, but I think that we're in this new position, this new world, where we now have technology going to help us automate. It's going to help us multiply. It's going to help us introduce these force multipliers into our fleets, right? And this artificial intelligence, it's automation, it's machine learning, it's making sure that we can do more with less. Because you're right, customer service expectations are only going to keep going up. Yeah. I mean, you have companies out there testing drone deliveries. You're talking about deliveries within minutes now when you order it. Think of the upward pressure that's going to put on fleets to be able to get product to the right places at the right time. And so you can't go and just raise your cost base. You can't operate that way.
But also, ironically, to your point too about like drones and stuff, there's certain areas of life where we're okay with that, right? But then there's others where I found the more automated we're getting, the more people like want a person to be there for them. And so, but what I see the opportunity as is like, our people are our most valuable resource in this industry, and they're busy doing things they should not be doing instead of having those conversations. It's
automating tasks just busy work almost, if you will. It's not even busy work, it's work that they need to execute their business. But like you said, let's redeploy our people into doing more valuable things for the customers and for the end users or the end customers there. Let's automate some of the stuff. Let's automate. I have to key in an order. Let's automate things like I have to run this report. Let's automate things like, I got to figure out what time my ETA is and send a text message to somebody. Those are things that you can take off people's plates through technology and free them up to go do more things that require the human touch, that require those human interaction points, that require the intelligence that these people bring to the table. Let's free up some of the busy work, quote unquote, and then allow them more freedom to do more valuable work.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that has to be the future for pretty much all of us in this industry. I don't think that's really exclusive to a fleet or a broker or a tech provider. No. We have to find a way to make sure that our people are doing what they do best, which is hopefully that customer service, that really genuine, impactful customer service type of work.
One thing that I, as a product manager, I'm very cognizant of is the things that we can automate, things like writing requirements documents, writing engineering documents. We can automate that. What you can't automate is things like taste. And it's understanding and translating problems into a solution. And I think that's where if I can automate, let's talk about what we do on our side, internally in a tech company, is I can automate things like, I don't need to sit there and take 6 hours to write a document anymore. I have a tool that can help me do that, and I can go focus on how do I solve these problems I'm hearing in the best way in the software. And again, it allows us to do better, which allows us to deliver things faster to our customers and deliver things that are better to the customers, more adoption. That'll help them do the same thing on their side.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to ask you one last question here. What advice would you give to fleets that are heading into 2026? I know that opening session this morning, Michael, I think, talked about the constant, changes are only constant, right? Yep. We know that. Yep. We're not strangers to that, but we've been in such a 5 years of constant change, some things are staying the same, like a prolonged down freight market, and other things are just changing super rapidly, like global geopolitics and expectations and technology and fraud and all of these things. Yep. So we're constantly, we're pretty used to just taking the curveball after curveball at this point.
We're very good at it. Yeah,
we're getting better at it. Yep. But we're talking about 2026. We're thinking ahead, and I'd love to just know, if you could just pick any, piece of advice to give to a fleet, what would it be?
Don't try to boil the ocean. This is my advice for everybody, is you can't change everything at once. You can't solve every problem at once. So take things slowly. Go find what the high priority things are that you want to focus on. Don't worry about,
How do you identify the high priority things?
Well, I think it's different based on the market segment, right? It's if I'm looking at a private fleet, a reason a private fleet exists, overwhelmingly is customer service. They're doing it as a cost center. They know it's going to cost money. So I have to make sure that things that are impacting my customer service levels are the things I take care of first. For hire carriers, it's different, right? For hire carriers, they need to stay on the road. And so things like cost per mile, things like making sure that...
Maintenance,
so, maintenance, of course. Yeah, I mean, a driver turnover is much higher in for hire than this private fleet. You have to focus on the things that are really going to impact your ability to kind of do your job and do it well. And it depends
like
on
maybe
the market.
what you spend the most time on is a good, I've heard that said is like a good base measure of where to prioritize. Like evaluate your operations and actually take the time to understand what do my people do the most. And if it's customer service and great conversations, then fantastic.
Yes, you're doing the right things,
if it's not, what are these things? And then ask yourself, is there an opportunity to improve that or to automate that or to start working towards it? Yep. I bet there's not an opportunity to automate it day one.
No, of course not. You can like we talked about, get your data right and stair step and be okay with incremental improvements.
Yes.
It's not a 0 or 1 game.
Yeah.
It's I can make small changes, get small benefits along the way. And maybe you're starting and stopping some places. Maybe you improve this process 10%, and then you move on to something else, and you can come back to that.
And you know what's cool? I bet you learned something along the way. I bet you think let's automate this, so let's make sure we really understand it and learn it and document it. And maybe you even figure out halfway through that process, we don't actually need to automate this.
Yes.
We just weren't doing it right,
you know? Yeah, maybe 10% improvement is good enough. Maybe it's efficient enough. And so,
and on to the next thing.
Exactly.
But I think hopefully that's been an ongoing thing for people, but absolutely would be looking at that through the end of 25 and into 26 is have you really picked apart your operations to make sure you're as efficient as you can? Because I'm hopeful, I like to be an optimist, I'm hopeful that we have some more economic growth in the back half at least of 26, and we see some more activity in our freight markets. People are talking about everybody's ready to of course make more money, but wouldn't it be great if you could actually optimize your revenue because your operations are already efficient?
Yes, exactly.
So continue to drive that. We don't want to give up on all of this work that we're doing to stay operationally efficient.
No, just because the freight market rebounds, and I'm optimistic as well, doesn't mean you should go backwards and slip. You should maintain that discipline that you're doing, and then also reap the benefit now of a better freight market and the improved efficiency and improved operations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, how would people be able to connect with you if they have more questions, maybe about some of the suite of products that you now work across, or just in general learning more, picking your brain on anything tech?
No, of course. I'd love this. So they can reach out to me first and foremost through my LinkedIn. I think it's Steve K. OK. It's set up a long time ago. Forgive the...
We'll get your full name in the episode description so they can find you.
Email is obviously, my preferred thing, and it's my Trimble email. It's Steven_Kalnitzky@trimble.com. And please reach out. I love to talk to everybody. I mean, if you have anything, honestly, anything can talk. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
those are two methods.
Private fleet.
Any LTL, multimodal.
There you go.
Technology. I love it all.
AI.
AI, please. I love it. Yes, this is my favorite topic now. So
I actually appreciated we didn't go too AI heavy in this conversation. But he does know a lot about it, so you can't talk to him about
I do, but I feel bad. I think these people, you're beating over the head with people, you're beating it over, with it. It's this point.
I had a good conversation earlier today with Michael after the opening session, and we kind of talked about how AI isn't as new as people maybe make it out to be, and how it's been this behind the scenes progression for years now for companies like Trimble. And so we think the buzzword, and I'm no, I actually think we should give credit where it's due.
It's escalating for sure.
Yes, it has escalated. But this has been around now for a while.
Yeah,
we were always working to this point. What'll be interesting to see is in a few years, what was the next point that we've been working towards, right?
I have a 15-year-old. He just started high school.
Yeah.
And I try to imagine what the world's going to be like in 8 years when he graduates college. And I'm this is going to be a completely different situation. And so it's going to be very interesting.
You're on your own, bud.
I know. Well, you're almost there. Right?
My advice from college isn't going to help.
Yes.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for making this a part of your time at the conference and coming to talk with me.
No, thank you for having me. It was really great. I appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. And thank you, everyone, for meeting us for coffee today. Thanks for meeting us for coffee today. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to check out our channels and subscribe. It would also mean a lot if you could leave us a rating or a review. If you're listening on LinkedIn, feel free to drop your thoughts or your questions in the comment section, and we'd be happy to get back to you. Thanks again.